Alright, this is a video I've been wanting to make for a while now. And it might be self-evident, it might not. I think it's just my time. My brain has been slowly frying, being like mid-power levels. And there's a whole story into why I'm playing mid-power now. Um, but anyways, my brain has been frying because the people in mid-power just don't really seem to grasp, I feel like for the most part, the dynamics of colors and magic. And when I say this, I mean like I'll be playing like my mono white deck, right? And then the guy with like turn one, um, 3/3, right? And he attacks the mono white player despite there being like a blue black player over there. And you know how things go. and I want to say I'm not salty. It's just like if you're playing to win, it seems like you're making a lot of suboptimal plays, and I don't think everyone has the, I guess, the idea of like maybe you should be playing for the most optimal plays. Like I don't think everyone should be playing like that. Maybe you try and play for fun or play for, I don't know, whatever reason. But there's other ways to play. But if you're playing to win, and I think for the most part in regards to like competitive integrity of Magic, if there is such a thing, I definitely think people need to pay attention to these bug colors. It's always the bug colors. Listen, all right, here's the deal. If you're playing green and you're rocking with a blue or black, like you need to be attacked. You need to be attacked. I don't know what it's with these people, but like the Marins, like of course they can be in the command zone, but also just because they're not in the command zone doesn't mean their deck is necessarily any weaker because colors definitely hold, right? Like despite Marin not being in the command zone, there's still like a lot of effects that Marin uses that also makes up the Marin deck. Um, if you're playing like green and white, you're definitely playing a more stacksy deck, and you can win through attrition that way. If you're playing like blue, I mean even red and green, right? That's sort of a little stacks here, but it's a little slower, I think, in regards to stacks compared to green and white. I think green and white is just slow for the player whoever's playing that. If you're playing, listen, right? Green. I can let go. I can let go of green. There's a lot of things in green that make it so it can go fast because they've got like the little elf tribal thing. They have the ramp. They can make games go fast. A bunch of colors can, but the colors that don't put too much on the board, and more specifically, I guess the control decks maybe, or the more attritional based value decks, where that have like things like Mystic Remora, have things like Rhystic Study, things that have Necropotence. Listen, you need to attack those guys. If they're playing blue black, you just attack them. Attack them first. If they're playing blue, you attack them, right? So here's my sort of pyramid on who to attack. And if you don't, here's an easier way actually. If that player's playing really slow, listen, they have a lot of options. You just attack them if they're playing slow, okay? I think it makes the game a little faster. If they're being the slowest, you moving that slowest person cuts the game down in half. Okay, if they're playing blue, attack them. If they're playing, and I think if they're playing solo blue, depending on the commander, maybe you attack them second to the guy who's playing blue and all the other colors, like a Golos, because the variety of spells they can play compared to the mono blue guy is so much more. So you want to cut down the amount of variables by taking out the guy with more colors in their deck. Specifically with blue, because blue has like the universal permission spells that can be pretty problematic for a lot of decks. If you're playing black, of course, black has a lot of things they can mess with just at the cost of life. And because life is like so plentiful in EDH, it's not too much of a problem for black to play their extremely like greedy spells that like cost them a bunch of life. And the thing about black is they use a lot of their life, so attacking them just means those spells become less efficient, right? Like imagine them trying to gosh, I forgot the name of that black card. What's the black card that you have to pay life and it's board wipe? Black board wipes. I'm gonna Google this right now because I cannot for the life of me. It's like, oh, it's Toxic Deluge. Yeah, Toxic Deluge. Listen, if they're trying to Toxic Deluge your 5 mana creature and they got 6 life left, that just takes one shock. Listen, I put shock in my red deck. They've got, and it's for good reason too. Like Bolt is better, of course, and you probably should definitely put Bolt over shock, especially like Bolt's pretty cheap now, definitely with Jumpstart and everything like that. There's things like Opposition Agent. There's things like Hull Breacher. There's a lot of stuff that you want to like get rid of that are utility creatures that just stand back, and that gets rid of them. But also the fact that they get rid of them, they can also get rid of the player as well. And they're playing black. Like life matters a lot. Like you can't play Toxic Deluge without paying life. And Toxic Deluge, I think, is one of the most played removal spells in Commander for black. It is, I think, for the most part. And like, think of cards like Necropotence. Like imagine swinging at a person and they're about to, like Necropotence is a card that is essentially used for combos, right? Like you look for your combo piece, and if you win, like your life doesn't matter. But letting them be, making them unable to dig that deep in their deck lowers the likelihood of them grabbing something, which just means more advantage for you to win. I don't know. This is a weird concept because I think a lot of people just don't think of this off the top of their head, especially for not being as experienced as I am. I wouldn't say I'm too experienced. I started playing back in university. It was like 4 years ago, and it definitely came to my mind when I was like playing my mono red Grenzo deck, and all of a sudden this Marin player, old friend, he was just like getting so much value. Like what the heck? This green black player is just, I kill this creature once and it just comes back. I'm like, what do I do? So in that moment, I was like, okay, how do I attack these decks from a different angle? Because once you play your commander, first of all, any Grenzo player will know this, mono red Grenzo deck player. Once they start playing creatures, they're off limits. Listen, you can bolt their creatures and everything, but most of your wins, I think, are based off other people's decks. And it quickly became like, oh, I need to play swords. That way I can get past these creatures. Oh, I need to play land destruction so I can go fast enough, dump my hand, and it won't matter what's in my hand because all my stuff is on the board and they can't board right because there's no lands in the field. And it slowly became like, how do I attack these other players in different ways? Because you can't really, with like these white and red decks, you can't really attack the hands, and you don't really have permission spells, and your spells really aren't that efficient in multiplayer formats. More so with like white. Red was in that back in the day. Red was in sort of the same spot as white, but nowadays red has got a lot more to do with the stack and stuff like that. So maybe you can get them off hook nowadays, but for the most part, they're just not as efficient with handling late game cards as like the black, blue, and the bug colors. so do me a favor. Next time you guys see a bug player, just attack them first. If if they're playing bug, attack them first. If they're playing multicolor, including blue, attack them first. If they're mono blue, maybe don't attack them as much as like the guy playing the multicolor deck, but it's like Sans blue or something like that. It's all sort of dependent, of course, and maybe you don't know their decks, but like going into a blind meta, attacking the blue black player or like the blue player first is such a good option. It's such a good option, especially not knowing if like they're a white. See, there's not too many like white life gain payoffs, so like attacking the white player doesn't seem to do too much. If they're playing Simic, 100% attack them first, and I think also if they're playing Simic, I think you attack them over the multicolor Wooburg decks, because I think if you're playing Simic, you're definitely going on the hard ramp game plan, and you have the protection to back up everything else you play after you've ramped the first like turn or so. You have like all the counter spells in the world to stop everyone and everything. Um, this happened the other day. Some dude, I was playing my derpy mono red deck, of course, and some dude, I enchanted him with a Curse of Opulence, and I play my Gorilla Shaman because I love playing small little hateberry creatures with my red decks. It's fun. I like it. Um, it's a passion project, but it doesn't go anywhere. And I chained up with the Curse of Opulence. I start swinging at him one a turn, right? One, and then I play like my Harsh Mentor. I keep attacking him, and he's like, "Dude, calm, chill out, right?" He starts playing things like he plays like he's playing like blue white. I think he's playing, what was that card? Azor. And he was like, "All right, dude, chill." Plays Azor, and he like draws like 5 cards with Pull from Tomorrow, and he like plays freaking that white enchantment that gains Smothering Tithe. He plays Smothering Tithes. I'm like, and he's still wondering like why I'm attacking him. Like, if that's not incentive enough, you have such a high advantage. Me attacking you, while it does give me a higher chance of winning the game by removing you from the game because you're definitely gonna win the long game compared to me. Come on, dude. Come on. I don't know. I don't know. There's just a lot of bad threat assessment, I think. And of course, these like threats are all contextual. Like, I don't want to say just because you're my threat doesn't mean you're everyone's threat. Like, there's been a lot of times where I've been like, okay, you like the guy casts like a Ulamog, destroys this other dude's lands or whatever, and as long as he has incentive to attack the other dude, like despite me having like a Swords to Plowshare in hand, I won't blow up the Ulamog, not until it starts swinging at me or something like that. Now Ulamog's probably a bad example because it has an attack trigger, but like just because they have a threat on the board, if it's not looking like it's going your way, you should just keep it there. I've done that plenty of times. Like some people would be like, because I have like a bunch of 3 mana spells in my hands, like, oh, that's a Void Winnower. I'm like, okay, like, must suck for you, but I'm trying to win the game. Usually, I'm trying to win the game. I'm not trying to like, I don't know, see like cool, crazy effects. I don't know. I would if the opportunity presents itself, but most of the time, I'm just trying to like play my deck. Like I like playing my deck the way it is, and it's just like, I don't know. I think there's basically, I'm trying to say is if you guys got everything, um, be smart with your first attacks, your initial attacks. I've seen games where like those things matter. Um, but yeah, of course, it all depends. But tell me what you guys think about this in the comment section below. Do you guys have any like ideas on who to attack first? I think it's super important, especially if you're a creature-based deck. I haven't really streamed any creature-based decks, but having, I think it'd be very interesting having like a aggro-based deck that's not like Winota. Um, I think that would be like beneficial for like those aggro based decks to know that sort of thing, or to understand like how the colors work in that sort of way. Especially like you have to know where you are in the food chain basically. Like if you know they're gonna win the attrition game, like you should definitely get also like rally the table to attack that blue black player or something like that. I don't know why I'm like hating blue black so much. I was planning on making a blue black deck. I just need a blue black commander that I'd play. That's like a traditional blue black commander. Uh, one day I'll have blue black. Anyways, yeah, tell me what you guys think about this in the comments down below. I'd be interested, and yeah, deuces.